The drums of Adaeze's wedding still echoed through Umeo's when Obianuju, her elder sister, whispered to herself in the shadows, "If I cannot shine, neither will she." From that moment, joy turned fragile, and a quiet storm of envy began to rise. In the village of Umeo's, nestled between rolling hills and wide farmlands, lived two sisters who were as different as night and day. Their father, a palm wine tapper, and their mother, a gentle weaver of baskets, raised them with equal love. Yet, from childhood, the eyes of neighbors and relatives always lingered longer on the younger sister, Adaeze. Adaeze's skin glowed like freshly pounded shea butter, her laughter bubbled like a flowing stream, and her grace made heads turn during festivals. She was not only beautiful in face but in spirit, always quick to help an elder, carry water for the weak, or sing lullabies to restless children. Her elder sister, Obianuju, was different. She was strong, clever, and sharp-tongued. Where Adaeze's smile soothed, Obianuju's eyes cut. Though she was not unattractive, her beauty did not shine with the same effortless glow. Growing up, Obianuju had watched the world praise her younger sister, and with each compliment, a seed of bitterness took root in her heart. When they came of age, suitors began to arrive at their compound. Most came asking for Adaeze's hand, though Obianuju was the elder. This stung her pride deeply. At first, she hid her resentment, telling herself her time would come. But as Adaeze blossomed into womanhood, admired by all, Obianuju's jealousy hardened. The breaking point came when Chike, the son of a prosperous trader, returned from the city. He was tall, gentle, and respected. Many expected him to seek Obianuju, for she was of marrying age. Instead, his eyes lit up for Adaeze. Within weeks, he came with his family to ask for her hand. The whole village buzzed with excitement. Adaeze has captured the heart of a man of honor, they said. Songs were sung, drums were beaten, and their father beamed with pride. But in the shadows of her heart, Obianuju seeded, she hid her rage behind false smiles. On the day of Adaeze's marriage, Obianuju danced with the others, her feet moving to the drum's rhythm, but her heart whispered curses. Watching her sister in the bride's coral beads, glowing with joy, Obianuju felt invisible, erased. That night, while the village still echoed with music, she whispered to herself, "She thinks she has won. But I will not let her keep her happiness. If I cannot shine, neither will she." From that moment, Obianuju's envy grew into a dangerous flame. And in the quiet of her heart, she began to plot the ruin of her own sister. Marriage transformed Adaeze's life. Chike's compound was large, with storerooms full of yam, palm oil, and cloth from the city. His family welcomed Adaeze warmly, and she slipped into her new role with grace. Every market day, people admired the couple, the beautiful young wife and her prosperous husband, but Obianuju watched from a distance, her envy deepening. Each time she saw her sister walking with Chike, laughter on their lips, it burned her like hot coal. The villagers' praises for Adaeze, "Blessed is the child who marries into fortune." Adaeze's beauty brought her honor. When knives twisted in her chest, she began to visit her sister's home often, under the guise of helping. "I have come to pound yam for you," she would say, or, "Let me help you sweep the courtyard." Adaeze, ever trusting, welcomed her warmly. She never suspected the venom brewing beneath her sister's kind gestures. One evening, as they sat together, Obianuju casually said, "Sister, I have heard things in the market. You must watch your husband closely. They say a man with wealth cannot be trusted." His eyes will surely wander. Adaeze laughed softly. "Chike is not like that. His heart is steady. He tells me everything." Obianuju forced a smile, but her words had been planted like seeds in soil. Over the following weeks, she repeated similar whispers, each one more pointed. "Why did Chike return late from the farm today? I saw him talking to Neka, the widow, under the udala tree. Be careful, Adaeze. At first, Adaeze dismissed it. But the more her sister repeated these words, the more Adaeze began to notice small things she had never thought about before. Jack speaking kindly to another woman, Jack arriving later than usual, Jack leaving early for the market. The seeds of doubt began to sprout. Meanwhile, Obianuju spread subtle rumors in the village. At the stream, she would sigh and say, "Men cannot be trusted. Even the best of them." Some women guessed what she implied and carried the gossip forward. Soon, whispers circulated that Jack, despite his wealth and good name, had a wandering heart. The rumors reached Jack's ears. He was confused, even hurt. "Who is speaking these lies?" he asked his wife one night. Adaeze lowered her gaze. "I do not know, my husband. But people talk." Jack clasped her hands. "Do not believe them. I chose you, Adaeze, because you are the woman of my heart. No one else matters." His words reassured her, but Obianuju's poison had done its work. Though Adaeze smiled, doubt lurked in her heart, waiting for the next whisper. Obianuju, satisfied, smiled secretly to herself. "A crack has appeared," she thought. "Now, I will make it grow." The harm Obianuju had sown was not enough for her restless heart. Planting doubt in Adaeze's mind gave her satisfaction, but she longed for more, for proof that her sister's happiness could be broken. One afternoon, Obianuju, dressed in her finest wrapper, tied a bright scarf around her head, and oiled her skin until it gleamed. She told her mother she was going to visit Adaeze, but her thoughts were darker. "If I can turn Jack's eyes toward me, Adaeze will suffer. Then she will know I am not beneath her." When she arrived, Adaeze welcomed her warmly as always. "Sister, you honor me with your visits," she said, hugging her. But when Jack returned from the farm and stepped into the courtyard, Obianuju made sure her eyes lingered too long. She adjusted her wrapper, laughed too loudly at his words, and touched his arm unnecessarily. At first, Jack thought little of it. She was his wife's sister, after all. But as the days passed and Obianuju's visits grew more frequent, he began to feel uncomfortable. She began sending subtle signals, a glance that lasted too long, a smile that carried more meaning than it should. One evening, when Adaeze had gone to fetch water from the stream, Obianuju found Jack resting in the shade of the udala tree. She sat beside him, lowering her voice. "Jack," she said softly, "I wonder. Have you ever thought that maybe you married the wrong sister?" Jack's head jerked up, eyes wide with shock. "What nonsense is this, Obianuju? You dishonor yourself and your sister by speaking so." But Obianuju leaned closer, her tone laced with venom and desire. "Do not pretend you have not noticed me. You think I do not see the way you look? Why settle for Adaeze when I—" Before she could finish, Jack rose abruptly, anger burning in his eyes. "Enough. You shame me. You shame yourself. Leave my compound at once." Obianuju's face hardened. Humiliation stung like fire. She stood, trembling with rage, and spat on the ground. "You will regret this, Jack. You and that sister of mine will regret ever looking down on me." When Adaeze returned, she found her sister gone and her husband pacing with a troubled face. "What happened?" she asked. Jack hesitated, unwilling to bring bitterness between the sisters. "Nothing," he said at last. "Your sister had an errand to attend to." But Obianuju did not remain silent. The next day, she went into the village spreading lies. "Jack tried to seduce me," she told the women at the stream. "He begged me to betray my sister, but I refused. I could not do that to my own blood." The tale spread like wildfire. By evening, whispers filled the marketplace, and eyes began to follow Adaeze and Jack with suspicion. Adaeze, already burdened with doubts planted earlier, heard the rumor and her heart cracked. The tale spread like wildfire. By evening, whispers filled the marketplace, and eyes began to follow Adaeze and Chike with suspicion. Adaeze, already burdened with doubts planted earlier, heard the rumor and her heart cracked. When she returned home, she confronted Chike, her voice trembling. "Tell me the truth, my husband. Did you touch my sister? Did you dishonor me?" Chike's face darkened with pain. "Adaeze, how can you ask me this? She came to me with wicked words, and I sent her away. She is the liar, not I." But Adaeze's trust wavered. Though she wanted to believe him, the weight of rumors and her sister's sly words pressed heavily. The bond between husband and wife began to weaken, like a rope fraying under strain. In her heart, Obianuju smiled bitterly. "The crack is now a wound," she whispered. "Soon, it would tear them apart." The weeks that followed were heavy with tension. Chike and Adaeze's once joyful home became clouded with suspicion. Adaeze, though still gentle, grew distant. At night, when her husband reached for her hand, she pulled away. By day, she questioned his every step. "Where were you, Chike?" she asked one afternoon as he returned from the market. "At the trader's stall, buying salt and oil," he replied patiently. Adaeze narrowed her eyes. "And were you alone?" Her words cut him like a blade. He had always been faithful, but now he lived under the weight of her doubt carefully watered by Obianuju's whispers. The village, too, turned against him. Rumors had grown wild. Some claimed they had seen Chike and Obianuju together in secret corners. Others said he promised to take her as a second wife. Mothers pulled their daughters away when he passed, and men shook their heads with pity. His honor, once unshakable, now wavered like a tree in storm. One evening, Chike returned to find Adaeze in tears. She had just come from her parents' compound, where Obianuju had spoken again. This time, she told their mother, "Chike begged me to share his bed. He threatened me when I refused. If not for Adaeze, I would have left the village in shame." Their mother, horrified, wept. She held Adaeze tightly and whispered, "My child, I fear your husband is not the man we thought." So when Adaeze faced Chike that night, her voice was sharp with pain. "You have dishonored me before my family, before the whole village. How could you? Was my sister not enough, that you must bring shame upon us?" Chike stood still, his chest rising and falling with rage. "By the gods, Adaeze, I have spoken the truth. It is Obianuju who lies. Why do you believe her over me?" "Because she is my sister," Adaeze cried. "Blood does not betray blood." Her words pierced him deeper than any rumor. For the first time, Chike raised his voice at her. "Then perhaps you should return to your sister's hut, if you think her word carries more weight than your husband's." Silence hung heavy between them. That night, Adaeze slept alone, tears soaking her pillow. Chike lay awake under the moonlight, anger and hurt battling in his chest. Meanwhile, Obianuju sat in her own hut, satisfied. She imagined her sister's tears, her brother-in-law's anger, and her parents' shame. "Let her beauty save her now," she muttered. "Let her see that the world does not bend to her smile forever. But fate has a way of turning lies into chains." For one morning, as Obianuju fetched water at the stream, she did not notice two women behind her. She hummed softly, speaking to herself as if reliving her triumph. "Chike thought he was too good for me," she muttered. "But now, everyone believes he is the dog I painted him to be." The women exchanged glances, their eyes wide. They said nothing, but the story of Obianuju's own confession raced through the village faster than the harm she had spread. By sunset, tongues wagged with a new tale, that Obianuju, not Chike, was the deceiver. When this reached Chike, he felt both relief and fury. He turned to Adaeze. "Now, will you believe me? Your sister's mask has fallen." Adaeze trembled, torn between love for her sister and shame for doubting her husband. Tears streamed down her cheeks. "If it is true," she whispered, "then I have betrayed you with my mistrust." Chike's heart ached at her sorrow, but the wound between them was deep. Trust once broken is not easily mended. As for Obianuju, her lies were unraveling. The same village that once pitied her now pointed fingers. Women she once gossiped with avoided her. Children laughed behind her back. And though she tried to shout her innocence, no one listened. The storm she had summoned was about to consume her. The morning after Obianuju's words were overheard, the elders of Umuse called a gathering in the village square. The air was heavy, men leaned on their walking sticks, women sat with arms folded, and children peered from behind their mothers' wrappers. Chike stood tall though his face bore the weight of weeks of shame. Beside him, Adaeze trembled, her hands clashed together, eyes fixed on the ground. And before them, Obianuju was brought forth, her head bowed, her wrapper untidy, her pride crumbling. The eldest of the council, Papa Okri, cleared his throat. "We have heard many things in this matter, accusations, rumors, and whispers. But yesterday, women of the stream reported that Obianuju confessed with her own mouth that she spread falsehood against her sister's husband. Is this true?" The crowd murmured, all eyes on Obianuju. Her lips trembled. She wanted to deny it, but the weight of the stares, the whispers, the certainty in their eyes, crushed her courage. She sank to her knees. "Yes," she admitted, her voice barely a whisper. "I was blinded by envy. I could not bear to watch my younger sister live in joy while I was overlooked. I lied. I lied against Chike." A gasp swept through the square. Adaeze covered her face and wept openly. Chike's jaw clenched, fury battling with relief. Papa Okri shook his head. "Envy is a poison. You have stained your sister's name, broken her peace, and sought to destroy her home. What punishment should befall you?" Voices rose from the crowd. Some called for banishment. Others said she should be made to serve Adaeze's household for years to pay for her treachery. But Adaeze, wiping her tears, stepped forward. "My father's, my mother's," she said softly, "Obianuju is my blood. What she has done has cut me deeply, but if she is cast away, my heart will never know rest. Let her carry the shame of her actions, but do not banish her from the land of our ancestors." The elders nodded. "So it shall be," Papa Okari declared. "She will remain among us, but her name will carry the mark of her deceit. Let this be a lesson to all: jealousy destroys not its target, but the one who harbors it." The crowd dispersed, buzzing with the judgment. Chike took Adaeze's hand gently. "Wife, do you see now the truth?" She looked at him through tear-filled eyes. "Yes, my husband. I see, and I am ashamed I doubted you. Forgive me." Chike sighed, his anger softening. "The wound would take time to heal, but I chose you once, Adaeze, and I choose you still." For weeks, their home was quiet, as if recovering from a storm. Slowly, trust began to grow again. Adaeze, humbled by her sister's betrayal and her own weakness, became more careful with her words and more steadfast in her faith in her husband. Chike, too, held her with more patience, knowing how fragile hearts could be. But for Obianuju, life became heavy. No suitor came to her door, mothers warned their sons against her, and women no longer welcomed her into their circles. She became a shadow in the village she once tried to command with lies. At night, alone in her hut, she whispered to herself, "I sought to destroy her, but I have destroyed myself. If envy is fire, then I am the ashes it leaves behind." And so the story of the two sisters became a tale told around firesides in your muse, of how jealousy corrodes the soul, of how trust once shaken is not easily restored, and of how truth, no matter how delayed, will always rise above lies.